Hey everybody, thanks for coming. This is the 49er Coffee Talk. It's the middle of the day, so if you're not drinking coffee, that's all right. It's Friday, and I really appreciate you showing up. I have a great guest. It's Grant Cohn. If you don't know him as Grant Cohn, you should know him as Quality Control because of everything that he brings to the 49ers. Grant, how are you doing?
I'm doing splendiferously. How are you?
Well, honestly, I am on like cloud nine because you're here. I appreciate you. I've been really appreciating going in and talking to you, like when you do your call-in shows on the weekends. But actually, being able to have you come on my show, I am like, again, on cloud nine. So I have a couple
Me too.
questions for you, and I really appreciate it. It's just like one of those things. Like I started seeing you probably maybe around COVID-19. The weird plague that happened, and you really blew up. And I've always heard about you probably from the get go because I used to listen to Rombo Sports, and there would be people who pop in and talk about you there. So like I've even read some of your articles prior to like your big YouTube channel, and then when you started going live, I started seeing you like constantly, and I'm like, hey, I like this guy. And
Thank you.
one thing I gotta say is I like how you are honest, and I think you do have like a little spin on it, but how can you really truly report to the team or about the team and give me a answer about what's going on if you don't give me the both sides of the aspect, right? You have to tell me, because you can't come off as a homer. You have to be true, and you have to say, hey, this guy's doing good in practice, and then maybe you raise your eyebrows. Is he? I mean, I love it. I really truly do. So again, shout out to you. And if you don't mind, I got a little dialogue, a little poem, if you want to call it, a little thing for you. So these are a couple questions I'm going to throw to you, and I'm going to start again with I'm going to start with that. So all good coaches or people are defined. All good coaches are people of positions, leaders, leave an imprint on the people they are around, the people who you work with or socialize with, you influence, or vice versa. So for you, I would think it's safe to say you have become known at, like, honestly, worldwide. Your voice has been heard around the globe. With that, you haven't shortened, you've actually like expanded. You've started a global movement. You've started a thought. YouTube Niner content creators, you have started doing something and people have thought, hey, maybe I don't necessarily agree. Maybe I agree 100%, but I think I can do that. And I think there's enough people out there that's listening to this guy. I might be able to do it too. So basically, what I'm getting into is you have an umbrella, kind of like a coaching tree. And I know you've mentioned it on your channel, and it's really something that I think is really humbling, but it's really kind of neat because if I'm even considered underneath your umbrella, I know of other people that have started a channel, like my buddy Wolfgang Ninercast, and other people who's been able to come on your channel, Amin the Dream, Rich Kelt's Chronicle. There's so many people that you've let come on and talk, and we are fans. We are 100% passionate. But what you are, Grant, is you are a reporter that gives us the insight of what you see. And you're not telling us from your heart, you're telling us from your brain. And I don't mean you don't have heart. I mean, you have the insight because you're not saying, I'm a 49er fan. And at first, I was a little upset about that because I was like, man, like, how can you not be a 49er fan? And now I get it. You have to be able to come to us and tell us from a you can't come to us and tell us from a 49er side. You have to come and tell us right from the middle, like, hey, this guy's doing good, he's not doing good. He might not make the team, and sure, they paid a bunch of money for him, but he just might not be worth it. And the Niners, they might have just missed out on this. So you're not the person, you're not the first, but definitely one of the oldest, because again, we have like Nothing But Niners, we have Rombo Sports, but you're coming to us with a different aspect. So you've started a fire inside people to do something. So we just got to that, of course. So in my eyes, you put your unique imprint on the world. Thank you. for again asking the questions that others might not ask. And what I mean by that is we have other guys, and I'm not going to name in the media, but it seems like the questions that you're asking seems like I see the game and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, why aren't you asking this? And then it's almost like some of the other guys are saying to the coaches or players, hey, you did a really good job, and thanks for winning or thanks for losing. And where you're not saying thanks for doing that, you're saying, hey, why didn't you do this, or could you do this next time? And I think sometimes maybe it pushes on the players or the coaches, but I think again, like, if you don't push on them, then they're going to think they're untouchable, right? And if you don't push on them, then they're not going to think that at a certain point they're accountable. So I really do appreciate your aspect on it. And if other people don't, hey, that's not what we're here for. I'm here to say thank you because I appreciate what you brought. So here's my question. Question one: do current NFL athletes go all in compared to the 2000s or prior? Practice, dedication, and heart. And I heard you talking the other day, and if you'd like to elaborate to what you were saying the other day, it's not about one specific player or another. It's about some players maybe don't practice as hard or they practice too hard. They think they're the best on the team, but it doesn't seem like we have Ronnie Lotz on the team right now.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, I'm not going to paint it like that with that broad of a brush because I think there are some players doing a Ronnie Lott impression. Like, let's name the vets that showed up to mini camp or showed up to all the OTAs and practiced like it was December. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Talanoa Hufanga, Eric Armstead, Jake Brendel, Aaron Banks. Like a lot of guys show up and put in the work like their career depends on it, and they all deserve credit. It's the ones that don't, and it's like that is a new phenomenon, and it's not just specific to the 49ers. It's all around the league. You see, most of these teams don't play their stars in the preseason, and they rest them all off season. And I mean, there are reasons that the season's long, and you're trying to avoid injuries, but at the same time, for this particular team that's been on the cusp of a championship for like 4 years and hasn't gotten over the top, you'd think there'd be like this, drive that is different for them than everyone else because they're so close. And yet you see Debo and Trevarius Ward, Javon Hargrave and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Trent Williams all just sit out for minicamp, like the team drill portion, the competitive portion. It's like, okay, like how much do you guys want to win the Super Bowl? The ones like, I know Christian McCaffrey wants to win it. It means everything to him. I know Ayuk wants to win it, but these other guys, that's Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, you're the two best players in the team. I think probably back in the 80s, the Niners' best players were out there. So I don't. Again, I'm sure every team's like this. I'm sure the Eagles are like this. I'm sure the Chiefs are like this. But I think the product suffers, and the fans are the ones that suffer ultimately.
I know training camp has changed. I live in Stockton, so I used to go to ULP when they were here in Stockton, California. I got to see them a lot. I seen them every day at the training camp for like multiple years. And it was really cool because I got to see Jerry Rice and Jeff Garcia, Steve Young. I got to see a lot of those players, Bryant Young, Owens. And yes, they were training. And there was times that they weren't the ones that were actually going off. They were the ones that were maybe like standing on the sideline signing autographs, but they're still in camp. They were still doing a lot of different things. And, they did have 2-a-day practices and multiple things like that. And you're about the same age as me. So I know things have changed, like, around 2004 and stuff like that. They did change how many practices they're having and stuff like that. And I know the players union and stuff. But again, like the leaders on the team and stuff like that, you would think that they would want to maybe push themselves a little bit or maybe help push other players, because maybe if they're not on the team, you still want the other players to have the same hunger.
Like Bryant, wouldn't it be really powerful if Trent Williams was like, look, I don't normally practice in minicamp, but this is a special year. We're making the push this year. I'm going to do it. I mean, wouldn't that set the tone? And if he did it, wouldn't everyone do it? And if everyone didn't, wouldn't you feel a lot more confident about this team starting hot and winning the Super Bowl? I would.
All the fans would back it. There would be such a movement. Everybody would start getting like kind of, things about it, because like, why is he out there doing that? Because the Niners are all in. They didn't go all in. We still have the capital to do things, but the team's all
Yeah, don't tell me you're all in.
Right?
Show me you're all in. Don't tell me you're all in.
Yeah.
Show me you're all in. And I know
You know,
Ayuk and McCaffrey and Kittle are all in, but like Fred Warner, I don't know that about you or Nick Bosa.
I want to see you doing sit-ups in your driveway, your personal driveway, right?
Yeah.
You know? So
like Debo comes back and says like, look, I wasn't in shape last year, but I'm going to be in shape this year, but I'm not practicing. Like, dude, what are you talking about? Which one is it? What are you doing?
I'm a big Debo guy. I like Debo a whole lot, but and shout out to him for coming out and saying what he said. But yeah, if the money distracted you so much, thank you. So let's move on to question 2. The NFL. So I think you know a little bit about me. You know, obviously you see the banners. I'm a big special teams guy. The NFL changing kickoff for concussions. Do you see it changing the injuries on concussions overall? And what I'm getting at is the reason they supposedly changed the kickoff is because they're claiming all the concussions are coming primarily off of the kickoffs. And I can't tell you if that's true or not. I know they say there's a player here or there, they might have played on kickoff, and a couple days later they have a concussion. They're saying, oh, well, it must have happened on kickoff. So unless they can point blank say per source or per experience that it happened on kickoff, do you think by them changing the rules to the fair catch and everybody getting at the 25 is going to change the concussion data following this year?
I don't think it will. See, to me, like special teams coaches are really clever. And what happened was they made it so they changed it from the 20 to the 25, right? They're trying to incentivize.
It was to the 25, but what they changed is if you catch
originally the original change was making a touchback even more valuable. So it's trying to incentivize the returner to stay in the end zone if you get it. So what teams started doing was kicking it short. Say, I don't want to give you the ball at the 25. I'm going to kick it real short, put it at the 2. You'll field it, and we'll tackle you at the 18. And again, like that's not what the league wants. The league wants no kickoffs, which is they should just get rid of the kickoffs and put the ball at the 25 for crying out loud. But they're like, I don't know, they want the ceremony of it. So now they're trying to fix that. So even if you kick it to the 2, they can do a fair catch and you get it to 25. Okay, so special teams coordinators are really clever. They'll figure something else out. You'll start seeing teams squib kick it or kick it like maybe not a full squib, but like a power line drive that bounces at the 25 that you kind of have to feel. They're going to find ways to make these teams bring it out and get tackled at the 23, at the 21, because that's what these coaches do. So until the NFL really just gets over it and says, no more kickoff, we're starting at the 25, there's going to be concussions.
See, I agree because I think there's going to be a way that they're going to be able to do like a bounce or a hop, some kind of kick where it's, and it's just going to happen.
They'll practice it. They'll get real good at it.
The difference between strategy and punts are, when you kick off, the ball's still live. So if you don't touch the ball, the other team can score. The other team can pick up the ball and score. So for them being able to do the fair catch, which is fine, but fair catch it at the 1, the 2, wherever you wave it off. And then I'm fine with that. You catch it in the end zone, okay, you can get it at the 20 or 25. That's fine with me. But when you do the ball kick and it hits the ground, it's live for everybody. You have to catch it. You can't fair catch it. You have to field it then. You have to return it. So I definitely agree. I think they're going to move somewhere towards that. And I think that might be one of my questions moving later. Do you see the NFL limiting kickoff or punters altogether? That's my next question.
It doesn't seem like they want to do that, right? Like, it would be so much simpler to do that. Like, get rid of kickoffs. Get rid of them. And just start at the 25. But why won't they? Well, if you get rid of kickoffs, you get rid of kickers and that whole kick coverage team. You're getting rid of jobs, essentially. And there's a union. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a players' union that would fight back. There would have to be a collective bargaining agreement. You'd have to get the players' union to agree. Like, let's just get rid of special teams, which means let's get rid of, 20 players on the roster. They would never agree to that. So that's why they're doing this little dance, and they always will.
I agree because special teams, they're always changing the rules. And, again, I'm a field goal kicker in high school. So I don't want to see them lose. I don't want to see
When did you graduate high school?
2004.
Okay. I was 06.
Yeah. Just a couple years.
I played soccer. Did you play soccer too?
No, I just did football and I did competitive speech and debate and I did chess and a little bit of drama. So I'm a
Did you do Lincoln Douglas debating, the one where you talk really fast? No,
I did.
I've seen that one. That one's
I did a little bit more. There's a couple of different debates that you can do in
Okay.
competitive speech and debate where you can do other type of tournaments where I wasn't necessarily arguing against somebody. I was reciting something or I was doing it with a partner. So I've had a lot of fun. And then I was on the academic decathlon team. So that was a lot of fun too. But
with Billy Madison? Sorry.
Well, I figured out, if I joined that team, it would bump up my grade point average. And by doing that, instead of getting a 5.0, a 4.0, you get a 5.0.
Genius.
So I was able to do
AP,
that.
baby.
I graduated a little bit early. I graduated 2 classes my senior year. And I didn't have to go to school my senior year. So it was really cool.
Wow.
But all right, so moving on, let's do a little quarterback stuff. And again, let's, I know it's one of those topics, but we have Brian Hoyer. And the other day I was talking with some friends, and do you remember the Brian Hoyer game against the Rams?
Yes. The first throw of the game was a pick 6.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I do remember that. He came all the way back. He tied it up at 35 and they lost 38-35 or something like that.
Yeah, like 41-39 or something
41.
Like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really high scoring game, but it was his best performance with the Niners. I mean, he was playing like Brock Purdy that day, minus the pick 6. Like Jimmy if Jimmy had played like that, people would have given him an extension and a parade. Brian Hoyer era, people forget it, but it was really great.
Yeah, right. Well, I think he got scared.
It wasn't his fault that the Niners couldn't stop a freaking check down pass to Todd Gurley. That was the beginning of the end for Navarro Bowman, if I remember correctly. He could not tackle Gurley, and every time they just dumped it off to him, it was like, gain of 15. It was like, sorry. I remember that game.
No, you're great. That's why I have you on, because you're my guest, right? And I want to be able to have you talk. So I definitely remember the Brian Hoyer experience. I used to call him Brian Hoyer, the Destroyer, and then he kind of destroy it. He got to a point where I kind of think he started seeing ghosts, and that's why CJ got put in. So,
that is 100% correct. Yes. And so did CJ. I mean, they all were seeing ghosts.
Oh man, I like CJ a whole lot. I know a lot of people give him a lot of bad, just blame him for everything. But see, the guy stood up there and he did take a lot of sacks and he did stand back up and then he took a lot more sacks. But the thing about him is he was, I kind of think he was building the team, right? The offense was still developing, the line was still developing, they were gelling, and they needed somebody back there to take the hits. And CJ was that guy. So we move on to Jimmy James, right? And we know what happened there. They got scared. He won a couple games right away. And I think at that time they could have moved on to Tom Brady, but they just didn't want to do it. And I think it might be our coach a little bit because he wants to be the face of the franchise or the quarterback of the huddle. So we didn't go after Tom Brady. We re-signed Jimmy James and we got Nick Mullins. We have Trey Lance now, Brock Purdy, right? Because Jimmy can't stay healthy. And then, Jimmy's hurt. He goes to the Super Bowl. He's hurt again. Then we go and get a quarterback. So before we went and got Trey Lance, right, we were looking at Watson. And we had to take a pause because of everything that happened, right? And during that pause, we were looking at Stafford, but we didn't know he was already in, Mexico with McVay or something. So we didn't get him. And then we tried to offer Sam Darnold. We tried to get him with a number 1 draft pick before we did the trade up or anything to our buddy, Robert Saleh, right? And he didn't want to do that. So then we go and trade with Miami and we go ahead and say, okay. And we still try to trade with Saleh to get Zach Wilson's, right? Because Zach Wilson was ideally going to go number 2. So the Niners weren't maybe necessarily sold on any quarterback. We were trying to get to number 2. And then we go ahead and call up our buddy in Green Bay and say, hey, is Aaron Rodgers available? So the Niners didn't know who they were going to take. So here's my question. Do you think the history, the medical experience, everything that happened with Justin Fields is why we backed off of him and decided to go in a different direction? Or do you think that was the best decision at the time?
I have no idea why they never considered Justin Fields. And I think it was kind of silly and outrageous if you think back about it. He's really good. He was the best athlete in that class of the quarterbacks. He's a much better athlete than Trey Lance. And you look at the way the Niners ended up using Trey Lance, so many runs. That if that's what you wanted to do with a dual threat quarterback, then you got to get Justin Fields. He's a better athlete than Lance. The whole thing with Lance was they said they were going to try to develop him the right way into a quarterback, but then when they played him, they used him as a running back. So I don't understand. It seems like they missed that one, and I don't understand. Like, why was Justin Fields not considered? Is it because of the offense he was in? Like, Kyle Shanahan didn't consider Patrick Mahomes either. Do you not take quarterbacks from spread offenses? If that's the case, think about it. D'Amico left this year and went to Houston, took Bobby Slowick with them, running the same system. They drafted C.J. Stroud, who went to Ohio State. And so far, reports of that, he looks good. Jimmy Ward was just interviewed, and he said, man, the guy looks like a 4 or 5 year vet. He's really confident. You never hear anyone talk that way about Sam Darnold or Trey Lance. You don't. I mean, people talk that way about Purdy. But now you've got like a guy with actual talent to match it. I think the one thing about Justin Fields, Kittle said a couple of days ago that Trey Lance is looking really confident for a change. Dude, Justin Fields never lost confidence. I mean, he's been the most confident player in America since he was in high school. Like, so I think, I don't know why they didn't take Justin Fields, and I don't think there are any good reasons not to, considering how they ended up using and trying to develop Trey Lance. Nothing against Trey. He could end up being good too, but like, he's not the athlete Justin Fields is.
Only thing I could think of is the right before it happened, his medical issues come out about him having the seizures. And that's the only reason, because the Niners seemed to be all in and then they backed away. And again, I think Trey Lance can be great too.
Kyle said, no. Kyle said that the only two people he was considering there were Mac and Trey. He never said why they never considered Justin. And that seemed like baloney to me. I've never heard of him having a seizure in the NFL. Maybe he'll have one in the future, but I haven't heard of that.
He has epilepsy. And when that came out, it sounded like the reports of the Niners being interested in him fell back. But I know you're a reporter, but I'm just being a humble fan. That's what I had read and understood from the reports.
Okay, but, maybe that was why.
I hope that's not, because hopefully he doesn't have any kind of injury like that in the NFL. But you just nailed it. I think he was a better athlete, but we'll only time will know. Time will tell, because he went to the Bears. So hopefully the Bears again, right? So this is a quick one. I know we're coming up on a couple minutes. I'd like to maybe keep you a couple minutes longer. Last year, do you think the Baker Mayfield decision for the Rams, do you think that crippled the Niners in any shape or form?
How?
Do you think if they would have got Baker Mayfield instead of having Josh Johnson, we would have potentially won the NFC Championship game? Or, do you think he would have been an upgrade at quarterback?
Not necessarily over Purdy, although.
Well, with Purdy would have been the starter, so just bringing him back in over Josh Johnson, having him be the backup.
Yeah, I'd have to say that Baker Mayfield was better than Josh Johnson. That would have been better. It would have been better. Right? Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought of that. They also reached out to Ben Roethlisberger about him possibly coming back, but I don't think Ben Roethlisberger was going to sign with the Niners for a few weeks to be Brock Purdy's backup. Like, I don't think that was going to happen.
Right, because they didn't ask him to start. They didn't ask him to start, what I heard. So they asked him to be the backup.
And what I think is interesting is, like, if the Niners never got a chance to get Baker Mayfield, but if they had a chance, would they have still gone with Purdy, or would they have panicked and gone with Baker? I don't know.
I hope they would have just stuck with Purdy and let Baker be on the backup. But that's what I was. My again, being a fan, it seems like the Niners were interested. Besides what we know about Bosa, not liking Baker, but it sounded like the Niners were interested, and we just didn't make the waiver, at time.
Yeah.
All right. So we got just a couple questions left. I want to jump into them real quick with you. Doug Bryan, you're a little bit, my age. Doug Bryan went to the Super Bowl with the 49ers. And it's interesting that, he was the last Super Bowl winner, right? We have a couple other kickers that's made it to the Super Bowl, but they haven't won it. Well, he bounced around and he made it to the Bears, right? And we have Robbie Gould, who replaced him in Chicago, and he made it to our team, and now he's bounced and he's no longer our kicker, but he gave his blessing, and he also helped scout, and he trained with Jake Moody. So are you shocked that the 49ers...
Doug Bryan what? Doug Bryan did?
Yeah, Doug Bryan was the 49ers' last kicker. in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl in
He
'94.
trained with Jake Moody? With Jake Moody?
No. He went
Oh.
to Chicago, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
Robbie Gould replaced him. So it's kind of like a full
Ah.
circle.
Got it.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. I was looking at Doug Bryant. Apparently, he went to De La Salle High School in Concord and went to Cal, which I would imagine he lives in the Bay Area still, if that's the case. So shout out to Doug Bryant.
yeah. Doug Bryan is a solid kicker, but yeah,
Third round pick.
he was replaced, and Robbie Gould come out here finally to California, and he trained with Jake Moody. And I don't know how long he trained with him, but he trained with him over the offseason. And then he gave the 49ers like his blessing. I guess he had already talked to him. I don't know if he knew the writing was on the wall and they were drafting, but he said, go ahead and go after this guy. So with them taking Mitch Wisnowski in the 4th round, and this being a 3rd round comp pick, a late 3rd round, early 4th round comp pick, right? Are you like shocked that they didn't take a 3rd round running back, or are you happy that they took a kicker?
Sounded like they would have taken a 3rd round running back if they didn't take a kicker. So the fact that they needed to take a kicker, yeah. I mean, he made a 63-yard field goal in practice the other day. I think the NFL record's like 67. Really strong leg. Might end up being their best player from the draft. We'll see.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. All right. So your thoughts are the Niners ownership, coaching, playing to be relevant, or do you see the potential of a dynasty? And what that is basically, are they just trying to sell tickets right now, or are we trying to really win a Super Bowl, in your opinion?
I mean, they're trying to win a Super Bowl, but it's not like they're doing anything extraordinary to make it happen. It seems like they're just going to keep doing what they always do and hope that things break their way, as if they've been a victim of bad luck. And that's like my whole thing as a quality control coach. I feel like this team isn't being held to a high enough standard. Like, yeah, it's great that you gotten close a few times, but it also sucks that you got close a few times and didn't get it done. That's another way to look at it. It also sucks that you got so close and couldn't close the deal, and you may miss this opportunity. The previous ownership group, Eddie DeBartolo, was much more demanding. Like, they fired George Seifert. They fired him after 8 years. He won 2 Super Bowls. And he won Super Bowls as a coordinator. Like, he was almost as important to the dynasty as Bill Walsh. And they fired him 2 years after he won a Super Bowl because he lost to the Packers back-to-back years in the playoffs, and they went to the Super Bowl and won one of them. And Eddie DeBartolo's attitude was, we have the highest standard. Sorry. I mean, we're the 49ers. You can go coach Carolina, George. And I mean, it's freaking George Seifert. And now the Yorks aren't like that. And I get it, because let's say Jed tries to be like Eddie, which I think he tried with Harbaugh. Similar situation. Hey, man, you're not getting over the hump. I'm going to fire you. Okay, Jed and John and Denise, who are you going to hire? Who do you know? Who respects you? And with Eddie, he was able to hire good coaches, and he always had Bill Walsh around. But the Yorks, they've hired some ridiculous coaches. So it's possible that Kyle Shanahan is the best they can do. And, losing in the Super Bowl or make it to the NFC Championship is the best they can do. And, maybe that's all. Maybe that's something to be happy about if you're a fan. But maybe they'll figure out how to get over the hump eventually. But right now, it seems like this is kind of the best the Yorks can do, is to have this coach who gets this far. And I just can't help but notice that, remember, they inherited Jeff Garcia, the Yorks, when they got the team. That was like 25 years ago. They ran Jeff Garcia out of town. They didn't want him anymore. Since then, they have not found a Pro Bowl quarterback, not one. Every other team in the league has found at least one in that time period except the 49ers. So there's something about the Yorks that just doesn't get it. And so I understand why Niner fans would be very anxious if Kyle Shanahan were to get fired. Because it's like, okay, Jed, let's see what you got. Let's see what this brain trust can find to replace him. That's a fair concern. I totally get that. It's a miracle they got someone as good as Kyle in the first place. I'm not sure they could get someone better. Maybe they could. Maybe not.
I totally agree. And just being a fan, I don't totally agree, because we could go on and on forever. But I agree with a lot of that, because as a fan, we Jim Tomsula, Chip Kelly, Jimmy T, or
Mike Singletary, Mike Nolan, Mike Singletary.
Yeah, Dennis Eckerson. I mean, there's come on. So we wanted to have some kind of continuity, and then like we have Alex Smith going through so many different coordinators, trying to learn a new playbook every year, struggling to be healthy with no wide receivers. Well, after his first year, honestly, did he have an arm after that? But we can go on and on. It's just with the Yorks, it just like you said, they haven't seemed to find a quarterback in that amount of time. And you and me are both, covering the team or watching the team during this time. We since Jeff Garcia, we haven't had a quarterback, and it's just really sad. All right, so
this is a team that could have drafted Aaron Rodgers, passed. Could have drafted Patrick Mahomes, passed. You know what I mean? Like that's a little bit like the Warriors when we were kids, when they could have drafted, was it Penny Hardaway? They passed on Kobe. They passed on Vince Carter. Like they went on a run of passing on generational talents. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And now look at them. They're just clicking. Everything's working for them. They're probably going to be the best dynasty in the Bay Area for several years.
Passed on Justin Fields. Passed on Lamar Jackson.
It's hard to say that Aaron Rodgers would have a better time in San Francisco if they were going to continue to change the playbook. But if he would have stayed healthy, like Alex Smith got hurt, I want to say in his first game with the 49ers, he injured his shoulder. So if that doesn't happen to Aaron Rodgers, he still might lose a bunch of games. But I think we would have had a better quarterback. I think we would have had longer tenure with maybe Mike Nolan. Maybe, we would have had, just
look at how long Aaron Rodgers kept Mike McCarthy employed in Green Bay. And that guy sucks. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're good. But like with the offensive coordinators that we had Mike Martz, we had the guy from San Diego. I'm blanking on his name right now. We have had a lot of good coordinators. We had Jim Mora. We've had a lot of good coordinators that came through and they weren't able to keep it together because why? Our quarterback. But Grant, I appreciate your time, and it's almost over our time limit that I asked you to, come on humbly, but I really do appreciate your time. So I have three last questions for you.
Okay.
Your favorite place, your favorite pizza place in the Bay Area.
Ooh, wow. Okay. It used to be a place called Slicer on Piedmont Avenue in Oakland, but it went out of business and a place replaced it called Violetta, which is basically just as good. It's right on Piedmont Avenue in Oakland by 51st, I want to say, Pleasant Valley. It's great. It's like as close to New York pizza as you could get in California. Other than that, in the Bay, they have like Zachary's and stuff, which is as good as any Chicago style pizza you would get in Chicago. But I don't like Chicago style pizza as much.
I would definitely go check them out. I think you've probably been to this pizza shop in Stockton. The 49ers were big homers. They were going there every day. On Alpine, if you drive straight up from UOP to Alpine, there's a place called Michael's New York style pizza. And the 49ers used to be frequent flyers during their summer camp here. So that's my favorite pizza in Stockton. But yeah, if I get to Oakland, I'm going to go check them out. When I go to San Francisco, there's a place in front of Golden Gate Park. It's called North Beach Pizza. North Beach Pizza.
Ooh.
And it's I don't know if you tried them or not, but they're it's right there in front of Kezar almost. And if you get a chance to take your lady there, definitely you can buy the pizza by the slice or a whole pie.
I got another one I forgot. In North Beach in San Francisco, Tony's Pizza Napolitana, so good. Tony's in North Beach, highly recommended.
Well, if you already know, I have a wife named Tony, so I'm gonna have to definitely check that.
You gotta bring her; it's great. It's super good. They got the little tiny pepperonis that curl up. I love those pepperonis. The little ones that curl up. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh man! All right, so last two questions. It's Friday night, so I'm getting the pizza anyways. But
cool.
All right, so. In-N-Out Burger. I don't know if you're a big fan, but when I moved back to California, I've lived here almost my entire life. I moved back to California from Kentucky, flew up from LA to SFO. And when we got up to the wharf, the first place I wanted to get something to eat was In-N-Out. It might not have been the best place, but it was what I wanted since being out of the state for a couple of years. So when you go to In-N-Out, what's your order? Are you an animal style kind of guy? Or are you a double kind of guy?
Double animal style. A lot of times I'll say no tomatoes. And what I learned from my Indian friends at UCLA, Raja, shout out Raja, chopped chilies, make it a little spicy. It's good.
Oh, wow.
Chopped chili. So I like the animal style with the chopped chilies. Maybe no, maybe because sometimes I feel like their tomatoes are no big deal, and they're big. So it depends. Sometimes I'll just pick it off myself, or I'll give it a chance. Sometimes I cut them too fat. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I do.
It's like this is a tomato sandwich, man. I didn't ask for this.
Tony don't like tomato on her sandwich. She's like, it's not a salad.
It doesn't really add much. It makes things soggy. I don't know. I'm not a big tomato guy. Like tomatoes in a salad, like cherry tomatoes cut in half, little. Fine, I could do that.
I could do it. All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. Again, appreciate you coming on. Love to do this again sometime. Maybe next year, anytime you have time. Again, I'm a small channel, but appreciate you. Really do appreciate everything you've done for the team, for the content, for people who who want an honest opinion, and I think that's what you do. So,
thank you.
If the Niners win the Super Bowl, are you going to Disneyland?
No. I've been to Disneyland twice in my life. Once when I was 2. I remember my mom took me on Pirates of the Caribbean and I cried and she didn't take me on anything the rest of the day. I was like, why would you do it? Why would you take me on that? I'm 2. Anyway, I didn't like that. And then I went for grad night after senior year. Did you do that? Grad night?
No, God, so I graduated my senior year. I was homeschooled my senior year, which is really neat.
Oh, okay.
So I was able to start school. I started my job early. I started a lot of things happened for my senior year. So I didn't do a whole lot of things that normal seniors did, but I did a lot of things that like pre-college students would do. So again, we could always talk about that on another time or on the side, but yeah, I didn't get to do all that fun stuff. I'm a DMLA. I don't know if you know about like the Masonic family and stuff like that, but I'm a DMLA. They're a fraternal organization for youth, and
you're a Freemason.
Yeah. So I'm part of. I'm.
You run the world.
Well,
you're in the Illuminati.
No. But we won't get carried away.
I read the Da Vinci Code. Okay, I know all about you guys.
No, but
I'm scared.
No, because it's a great organization. But it's not like that. But the reason I say Disneyland is how the Niners, all the fans, all the players, they always yell out, "We're going to Disneyland." So with you, if you do change your mind, if the Niners do win the Super Bowl, you are quality control.
I'm going to Great America.
I love it. They won't be here.
All right. Put in a good word for me with the Freemasons, please. Tell them I'm sorry and I didn't mean it. Whatever happened that one time. It wasn't my fault.
If you ever want to become a
Mason, I know they're watching. Who watches The Watchmen? The Freemasons.
So if you ever want to be a Mason, and I'm telling you the truth, if you ever want to be a Mason, you just have to ask one. You have to ask one, no one. And that's it. If you ever want to become a Mason, you just have to ask one. So Grant,
all right,
dude, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you. Everything that you do for the Niners. And again, if we can ever break pie, and have some pizza in Oakland, let's do it. Appreciate you. You know how to.
I want to try that pizza in Stockton, man. I've never had that. That sounds good.
Ask your dad because it's right off of Alpine. It's Michael's New York style pizza. It's been there for 30 something plus years. They've been number one pizza shop in Stockton for years. And like Steve Young used to go up there, everybody. But dude, thank you again.
Bubba Paris probably lived up there. Sorry, Bubba.
Hey, you know what? Tell you what, we had a lot of good players come through.
That 320-pound frame ain't gonna fill itself out. All right, Bubba, love you.
Hey,
Brian,
you too.
Good show, man. What? This was fun.
I appreciate you. Again, you need something, you know how to get a hold of me. So everybody,
absolutely. We'll talk soon.
Chat was on fire. We appreciate you guys. Sorry I couldn't get to everybody, but you know what? You're appreciated and you've been seen. And we'll be doing this soon. Thank you, Grant. You have a great day.
Take care. You too.
All right.